I changed every single beneficiary on every account I owned at exactly 4:10 in the morning on a Thursday. My fingers moved slowly but surely across the keyboard, the soft white glow of my laptop the only light in the whole house. Outside, the crickets were quiet. The neighborhood was fast asleep. My daughter Vanessa had no idea what I was doing. She had spent months believing she already had everything figured out. She thought I was too old to see what was right in front of my face. She thought the tears she cried at family dinners were enough to keep me blind. But I saw everything. Every single thing. My name is Dorothy Mae Watkins. I am 67 years old, and until about 9 months ago, I believed with my whole heart that I had raised a good woman. Not a perfect woman, but a good one. Vanessa was my only child. I had her late, at 31, after 2 miscarriages that nearly broke me and my husband Clarence. When she finally came into the world, healthy and loud and full of life, we thought she was our miracle. Clarence used to say that Vanessa had enough spirit for 10 children. He was right about that. She was bold, curious, funny. She could talk to anyone and make them feel like the most important person in the room. I raised her in our house in Augusta, Georgia, the house Clarence and I bought the year we got married. He worked as a civil engineer for the county for 31 years. I spent 28 years as a registered nurse, most of that time in the cardiac unit. We worked hard, the two of us. We saved carefully. We said no to a lot of things so we could say yes to the future. Clarence passed away 4 years ago. A massive stroke, sudden and fast. He was here on a Monday, and by Wednesday he was gone. The grief nearly swallowed me whole. But Vanessa was there. She drove up from Atlanta the same night I called her. She sat beside me at the hospital, held my hand when the doctor told us there was no coming back from the damage. She helped me plan the funeral, picked out the suit Clarence was buried in, wrote thank you notes to everyone who sent flowers. After he was gone, I had the house, a paid-off mortgage, and the retirement savings Clarence and I had built together over 3 decades. Between my pension from the hospital system, my 403b, Clarence's life insurance, and our joint IRA, I was sitting on just over $850,000. I was comfortable. Not extravagant but comfortable. Had my routines. Sunday morning church. Tuesday and Friday water aerobics at the YMCA. My book club on the 2nd Thursday of every month. Weekly phone calls with my sister Gloria in Memphis. And Vanessa every Saturday afternoon without fail. Either a visit in person or a video call if she was too busy to drive up. For the first 2 years after Clarence passed, things were steady. Vanessa was living in Atlanta with her husband Darnell, a man I had never quite warmed to but accepted because she loved him. They had a daughter, my granddaughter Amara, who was 8 years old and the absolute light of my life. Then last spring, Vanessa called me on a Tuesday evening, not our usual Saturday. "Mom," she said. Her voice had that tight, careful sound that mothers recognize immediately. Like she had rehearsed what she was about to say. "I need to talk to you about something." My heart jumped straight to health. I thought something was wrong with Amara. But no. It was money. Darnell had been let go from his job at the logistics company, she said. He had been out of work for 4 months. She had been covering everything on her salary alone, and they were drowning. Their mortgage, the car payments, Amara's private school, the credit cards they had been living on. It had all piled up faster than she could manage. "Mom, we owe close to $70,000, she told me. I felt that old familiar pull. The one that lives somewhere deep in a mother's chest. The one that says, fix it. Make it better. That is what mothers do. "How can I help?" I asked her. She paused a long time before she answered. She said she and Darnell had been talking. They were thinking about leaving Atlanta. Starting over somewhere smaller, somewhere quieter. Augusta made sense, she said. Lower cost of living. And I was here alone in this big house. What if something happened to me and there was nobody around? What if I got sick and nobody found me for days? She laid it out gently, carefully, like she was arranging flowers. We could all be closer. Darnell could find work. Amara could spend real time with her grandmother. I would not be alone. I told her I was doing perfectly fine on my own. And I meant it. But she kept talking. Mom, you know how much I worry about you. You're not getting any younger. Daddy would want us together. She said that last part soft and deliberate, dropping your father's name like a weight on a scale. And just like that she tipped me. They moved to Augusta in May. Rented a house about 12 minutes away from mine. Darnell said he was putting out applications. Vanessa said they were hoping to buy something once they got settled. In the beginning it really was lovely. Vanessa came by often, 3 or 4 times a week sometimes. She brought groceries without being asked. She helped me finally sort through boxes of Clarence's things that I had been avoiding for 2 years. Amara came over after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays and we would bake together or sit on the porch and I would teach her how to play bid whist. Felt full again. The house felt full again. But then little things began to scratch at the back of my mind. Vanessa started asking detailed questions about my money. Not once, not casually, but regularly, methodically. How much was my monthly pension? Did I still have the IRA Clarence set up? Had I thought about consolidating my accounts somewhere easier to manage? She always framed it as concern. Mom, I just want to make sure everything is organized. You have so much to keep track of. I would remind her that I had been managing my own finances for decades. She would smile and say, I know. I just love you. Then one afternoon in June, she arrived with a folder. We were sitting at my kitchen table after lunch. She slid it across to me like it was nothing. Mom, I have been doing some reading about estate planning. You have a will, right? You do. Your father and I drew that up years ago. But have you looked at it since he passed? And do you have a power of attorney in place? I told her I was not sure what that meant exactly. She explained it carefully. Too carefully, I thought later. If anything ever happened, if I ended up in the hospital, if I couldn't make decisions, she said, someone needed to be able to step in and handle things. Without a power of attorney, it could take months in court. She opened the folder. Inside were forms, official looking, already filled out in most places. Just needing my signature, she said. Financial power of attorney and medical power of attorney. Just a formality, really. Just being smart. Something cold moved through me. I thought about Clarence. He always told me I had the sharpest nose in any room. That I could sense something wrong before anyone else even blinked. I told Vanessa I needed to think about it. Something crossed her face, fast and gone, like a cloud shadow on a sunny day. Course, Mom. No rush at all. I just want you to be protected. The next morning I called my attorney, a woman named Carolyn Bridges who had handled Clarence's estate and our wills. Carolyn, I said, my daughter brought me some power of attorney documents. She listened carefully. Then she said, Dorothy, do not sign a single thing until I see it. Power of attorney in the wrong hands is one of the most dangerous documents that exists. I made an appointment for the following week, and I did not tell Vanessa. That week, I began to pay attention in a way I had not been doing before. Real careful, quiet attention. I noticed that my mail was being opened before I got to it. I would come downstairs in the morning and find envelopes already slit open, sorted into little piles on the kitchen counter. Vanessa said she was just helping me stay organized. I noticed Darnell had started coming with her sometimes, and that he would wander through the house while Vanessa kept me talking in the kitchen or on the porch. He would look at things in a certain way, measuring, calculating. I noticed Vanessa had started mentioning a particular assisted living facility called Magnolia Gardens on the east side of town. She brought it up 3 times in 2 weeks. Such a lovely place, she said. You would have your own room. People to socialize with. Activities every day. I reminded her I had a full life right here in my own home and had no intention of going anywhere. She always agreed quickly. Of course, Mom. Absolutely. I just like knowing the options. I went to see Carolyn that Thursday. I brought the folder Vanessa had given me. Carolyn put on her glasses and read every page without speaking. Then she set it down. Dorothy, she said, this document gives Vanessa broad, unrestricted access to every financial account you own. It allows her to make gifts on your behalf, meaning she could legally transfer money to herself. It also gives her the right to change your living arrangements. This is not a standard protective document. This is a document designed to give her control. My stomach turned over. I drove home feeling like the ground was tilting slightly under everything I had always trusted. I did not say anything to Vanessa. I smiled at Sunday dinner. I watched Amara do a little dance in my living room and I clapped and laughed. But my eyes were open now in a way they had not been before. The following week, I contacted a woman named Rhonda Ellis, a private investigator that Carolyn recommended. I told Rhonda what was happening and asked her to help me understand what I might be missing. She told me to start documenting everything. Write down every conversation with dates and times. Keep track of anything that moved or was accessed. She also suggested I look carefully at my accounts to check whether anyone had been attempting to access them. I did exactly what Rhonda told me. I started a little notebook that I kept tucked inside my Bible on my nightstand, a place Vanessa would never look. I wrote down every conversation about money, every mention of Magnolia Gardens, every time mail was opened that should not have been. And I quietly contacted my financial institutions and asked them to add a verbal password to my accounts. Nothing moved without my voice first. 3 weeks into this quiet investigation, Rhonda called me. "Dorothy," she said, "I need you to sit down." She had been watching carefully, legally, tracking movements and conversations in the ways she was permitted. What she found made my knees go weak. Darnell had met twice at a coffee shop downtown with a man named Philip Okafor, a financial advisor who had a history of complaints filed against him with the state licensing board. 2 clients had accused him of moving funds without proper authorization. Both complaints had been settled quietly. Rhonda had also found something else. Vanessa had contacted a physician, a Dr. Harriet Sung, who was known, quietly in certain circles, for providing cognitive assessments that supported guardianship filings. She had not made an appointment yet, but she had made inquiries. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time after that call. The afternoon light was coming through the curtains, the same way it always had. The same way it came through when Clarence and I first bought this house. When we brought Vanessa home as a newborn. When we ate 30 years of breakfasts at that table together. Everything looked the same. Nothing was the same. Called Carolyn again. She told me to let the situation develop a little further so we could capture more evidence, but to be ready to move when the time was right. Rhonda set up a way for me to safely record conversations in my own home. I want to be very clear. I did not want to do it. Every time I pressed that little button, some part of me prayed I would hear nothing concerning. I prayed Vanessa would say something that proved this was all a misunderstanding. Terrible mistake. That my daughter, my miracle, my only child, was not planning to rob me. But that is not what I heard. 2 weeks later, on a Wednesday evening, Vanessa and Darnell stayed late after dinner. I told them I was tired and went to my room. I left the door cracked. I could hear them clearly in the kitchen below me. Darnell said, "How much longer do we have to wait?" Vanessa said, "I'm still working on the POA. She keeps stalling." Darnell said, "What about the other option, the competency route?" Vanessa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Dr. Sung said she can do the evaluation in the next few weeks. Once we have that on paper, we don't need Mom's signature on anything." Darnell said, "And then what?" Vanessa said, "Then we file for guardianship. With that in place, we control everything. The house, the accounts, all of it." Darnell said, "What does that add up to?" Vanessa said, "Close to 900,000 counting the house." Darnell made a low sound. Then Vanessa said, "I already talked to Philip. He said we can move money in amounts that don't trigger automatic alerts. We start with the liquid accounts first. Keep the minimum in each one to avoid suspicion." Darnell said, "What about your mom's day-to-day, food, utilities?" Vanessa said, "We keep the lights on. We pay the basics. If she goes into Magnolia Gardens, that's $2,800 a month. We can cover that and still walk away with most of it." Darnell laughed, a short, flat sound. Then he said, "And she'll never know what hit her." I was lying on my bed with my hand pressed over my mouth so they would not hear me. I was not crying. I was beyond crying. I had moved into something harder than tears, something still and cold and absolutely certain. My own child. My miracle. The baby I had prayed for. Sitting at my kitchen table talking about how to drain everything I had ever worked for. Talking about putting me in a facility with just enough money to keep me alive while they spent the rest. The next morning I woke at 4 a.m. and I could not go back to sleep. I made myself a cup of chamomile tea and I sat at that same kitchen table in the dark. Then I got up, got my laptop and I got to work. By 4:10 in the morning I was logged into every account. I worked through them one by one. My 403b IRA, my pension survivor benefit, my life insurance, Clarence's remaining investment account that I had inherited. On every single one, I removed Vanessa's name as beneficiary. In her place, I named my sister Gloria. I named Amara directly. With a trust structure Carolyn had already helped me set up for exactly this purpose. I named my church's scholarship fund as a secondary beneficiary. By 4:47 in the morning every single form had been submitted. Vanessa had no idea. I also called my bank that same morning when they opened and added a full security freeze to all outgoing transfers above $500. Nothing could leave without a phone call verified by me personally. I also asked Carolyn to begin the process of updating my will entirely. New executor, new structure, everything. She had the paperwork started by that afternoon. That Saturday Vanessa came over as usual. She brought Amara. We sat on the porch and drank lemonade. Amara showed me a drawing she had made at school. Picture of the two of us baking. She had drawn me with a big smile and a purple apron. I held that drawing in my lap and smiled at my granddaughter and thought about the fact that none of this was her fault. None of it. Children do not choose their parents. The week after that, I met with Carolyn and Rhonda and a detective from the Augusta Police Department named Marcus Webb who specialized in financial crimes against elderly residents. Carolyn presented everything. The recordings. Rhonda's documented observations of the meetings with Philip Okafor. The inquiry Vanessa had made to Dr. Sung. The power of attorney documents that had been designed to strip me of control. Detective Webb listened to everything carefully. Then he said, "Ms. Watkins, what you have here is substantial." He explained that under Georgia law, financial exploitation of an elder was a felony. Conspiracy to commit financial exploitation was also chargeable. Fraudulent guardianship proceedings carried serious penalties. He told me what would happen next and what I needed to do. We set a date for the following Thursday. I want to tell you what that week felt like. I still cooked dinner on Tuesday. I still went to water aerobics on Friday. I still called Gloria on Sunday and talked about nothing important, just sister things, because I could not tell her yet what was coming. I moved through every hour of that week carrying something enormous and silent inside me. I kept looking at Vanessa on our Saturday call, searching her face for something. Some trace of the girl who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during long car rides. Some trace of the woman who held my hand at Clarence's bedside. Found traces. That was the hardest part. She was still in there somewhere. But she was also the woman who had sat at my kitchen table and talked about draining my life's work while I lay in the room above her. Thursday came. I had asked Vanessa and Darnell to come over at 11 in the morning. Told them I had thought more about the power of attorney and wanted to talk it through. They arrived right on time. Vanessa had the folder again, the same folder she had been carrying since June. She set it on the kitchen table and looked at me with that careful, practiced smile. "Mom," she said, "I think this is really the right thing. We just want to make sure you're taken care of." I nodded slowly. Said, "I know you do." Then the doorbell rang. I watched Vanessa's face as I got up to answer it. Carolyn Bridges came in first. Then Rhonda Ellis. Then Detective Marcus Webb. Then a woman named Adiz Okonkwo from Georgia Adult Protective Services. Then my sister Gloria, who I had finally called the night before and who had driven 4 hours from Memphis through the night to be there. And finally my neighbor and oldest friend, Reverend Sylvia Tate, who happened to be a retired family court judge. Vanessa stood up from the table so fast her chair scraped back hard against the floor. "Mom, what is this?" "Sit down, baby." My voice was even. I had practiced it until it felt steady. We need to talk. Darnell looked at Detective Webb and seemed to understand immediately what kind of morning this was going to be. He sat down slowly without being asked. Carolyn spoke first. She laid out the legal situation clearly and without emotion. The recordings were played. Vanessa's voice filled my kitchen talking about guardianship, talking about Philip Okafor and moving money in quiet increments, talking about $2,800 a month at Magnolia Gardens and walking away with most of it. Darnell stared at the table. Vanessa's face went from confusion to recognition to something I had never seen on her face before. Kind of collapse. Detective Webb explained the charges being pursued. Financial exploitation of an elder. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Attempted fraudulent guardianship. He explained that Philip Okafor had also been contacted and that his cooperation was already being discussed with the district attorney's office. Vanessa began to cry. "Mom," she said. "Mom, please. We are so far in debt. We didn't know what else to do. We were going to take care of you, I promise. We were always going to take care of you." I let her talk. I did not interrupt. When she finished, I said, "Vanessa, you sat at my kitchen table and decided what my life was worth in dollars. You talk about keeping just enough money flowing to keep the lights on. You were going to take everything your father and I spent 30 years building and spend it on yourselves. And you were going to put me somewhere quiet so I would not be able to stop you." She cried harder. Darnell said nothing. Carolyn served them both with cease and desist orders. They were prohibited from contacting me, entering my property, or attempting to access any of my accounts. Adiz Okonkwo from Adult Protective Services informed them that a full financial audit would be conducted to confirm no funds had already been misappropriated. Detective Webb made it clear that formal charges were being filed. They left. Vanessa could barely walk to the car. I stood at my front window and watched them go. Gloria came and put her arms around me from behind and just held on. I did not cry until they were out of sight. Then I cried for a long time. The legal process took the better part of 8 months. Vanessa and Darnell were formally charged with conspiracy to commit financial exploitation of an elderly person and attempted fraud. Their attorney negotiated a plea agreement. 3 years of supervised probation. Full restitution of my legal fees, which came to just over $22,000. Mandatory financial counseling for both of them. Permanent no-contact order unless I chose to lift it in writing. No prison time. Carolyn told me that was consistent with cases where the scheme had been stopped before. Any funds were actually moved. I also filed a civil suit. The judgment came in at $115,000. They will be paying that for the foreseeable future. The money is not the point. I want to say that plainly. Never was. I still live in the house Clarence and I bought together. I still go to water aerobics on Tuesdays and Fridays. I still go to church on Sunday mornings. I still have my book club on the second Thursday of every month. Gloria calls me every week. Without fail, sometimes twice. Reverend Tate and I have lunch on Wednesdays now. The chair Amara used to sit in when we baked together is still at my kitchen table. I look at it sometimes. I have not seen Amara since that Thursday. That is the wound that does not close. She is 9 years old now. She drew a picture of the two of us with big smiles. She did not choose any of this. Vanessa wrote me a letter 6 weeks after the plea deal. She said she was in therapy. She said she understood what she had done. She said she loved me and that she was sorry in a way she did not yet have words for. She asked if there was any path forward, any way back. I have read that letter many times. I have not responded yet. I do not know if I will. What I know is this. Greed does not always look like greed at first. Sometimes it looks like helpfulness. Sometimes it looks like concern. Sometimes it looks like a daughter who drives up the night you call her and holds your hand at the hospital and writes thank you notes on your behalf. It takes up residence quietly and slowly replaces something real with something hollow that is wearing the same face. The signs were there. I felt them before I could name them. Something in me knew before my mind caught up with what my gut was saying. I am grateful I listened. I am grateful I did not sign those papers. I am grateful for Carolyn, for Rhonda, for Detective Webb, for Gloria, for Reverend Tate. I am grateful that Clarence built in me the habit of paying attention, of trusting what I feel in my bones even when my heart wants to argue. I am 67 years old. I have buried a husband and 2 pregnancies and more heartbreak than I ever expected life to hand me. I have also loved deeply and been loved well and built something real from nothing much and done it honestly. Nobody is going to take that from me. Not for any amount of money. Not even my own daughter. Especially not my own daughter. If you are watching this and something in this story is pulling at you, if something feels familiar, if something in your own life is scratching at the back of your mind the way it scratched at mine, please listen to that feeling. Write things down. Talk to your attorney. Talk to a trusted friend. Do not wait for things to become undeniable before you act. The earlier you move, the more you protect. You work too long and too hard and survive too much to let anyone at all, quietly dismantle what you built while you were busy loving them. And if you are a grandchild watching this, or a niece or a nephew or a neighbor, please check on your elders. Not to manage them. Not to take over. Just to see them. Just to listen. They have more wisdom and more fight in them than people give them credit for. My name is Dorothy Mae Watkins, and I changed every beneficiary at 4:10 in the morning on a Thursday, sitting in the kitchen of the house I have lived in for 35 years, in the quiet before the birds even started. And when the sun came up that morning and I made my coffee and sat on my porch and looked at the same yard Clarence and I planted together, I felt something I had not felt since before all of this began. Felt like myself again. Fully and completely myself. I want to thank each and every one of you watching Granny's Voice today. This channel exists because of you. Your comments, your messages, your shares, they mean more than I can properly say. If this story moved you, or made you think of someone you love, please share it with them. It might matter more than you know. Drop a comment below and tell me where you are watching from. I love knowing that this little channel reaches across so many different places and lives. If you have not subscribed yet, please do. Hit that bell so you never miss a new story. We put our whole hearts into every single one. And if you or someone you know has been through something like what Dorothy went through, please know you are not alone. There are people who will believe you and fight alongside you. You deserve to be protected. You deserve to keep what is yours. You deserve to live the rest of your life with dignity and peace on your own terms. And now, a few thoughts just for those of you who might be sitting with something heavy today. Maybe it is not a daughter. Maybe it is a son, a nephew, a caregiver, a neighbor. Maybe it is someone you trusted completely and the unease is still new, still quiet, still something you are not quite ready to name out loud. You do not have to have everything figured out to take one step. You do not have to be certain to make one phone call. You just have to trust that small, steady voice inside you that has kept you going through everything else in your life. Has not failed you before. It will not fail you now. The most important thing I want you to walk away with today is this. Being older does not mean being less. Being alone does not mean being without power. The people who underestimate you are making the biggest mistake of their lives. Dorothy knew that. She proved it at 4:10 in the morning with nothing but a laptop and the certainty that she had worked too hard and loved too honestly to let anyone take her life's work in the night. She fought back quietly, carefully, completely. And she won. And so can you. And to every single person who has ever sent this channel a kind word, who has ever said that one of our stories helped them feel less alone or more ready to face something hard, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, truly thank you. This work matters to us because you matter to us. We will be back very soon with another story. Until then, take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. And remember, your story is not over. Not even close. The most important chapters may still be ahead. And if the person sitting across from you right now is someone who loves you truly and completely, hold on to. Tell them. Those people are rarer and more precious than any account balance or property value. The greatest wealth any of us will ever have is not in any retirement fund or savings account. It is in the people who would drive through the night to sit beside you when everything falls apart. Gloria drove 4 hours in the dark to be in that room on a Thursday morning. That is wealth. That is what lasts. Keep your eyes open, friends. Keep your instincts sharp. Keep your paperwork in order. And keep loving the people who earn it. We will see you in the next story. God bless each one of you watching today, wherever you are sitting, whatever you are carrying. You are seen. You are valued. You are not alone. And you deserve every good thing still waiting for you ahead. Take good care until next time. This is Granny's voice, and we are so grateful every single day that you are here with us. Now, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Tell us your story if you feel moved to share it. We read every single one. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do for someone we love is simply say, "You are not the only one. This happened. It is real. And you can get through it. We love you. We will see you next time. Until then, be well, be safe, and always, always trust yourself. You already know more than you think you do. Stay strong. This is Granny's voice. We will see you soon.